All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And greetings all. It is a pleasure to have you in. Yes, this is our big Friday show, and it is of significance from another standpoint as well. 2 points. First of all, there's an ebullience among many of the people who live in the Bay Area. We've got a big Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area audience because the Niners won last night. It was not necessarily a foregone conclusion. It was kind of a nail-biter toward the end anyway. But the real thing that has everyone on this show a little excited is it's our 2-year anniversary, everyone. And while this isn't an official celebration, because officially I think tomorrow is the second year, marks the second year. We're as close to tomorrow as we're going to get because Saturday we don't do a show. So I am really excited that this experimental project made it this far. Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
And Albert is here.
Albert, thank you.
It is cool. Tony is not here.
Thanks, Tony. But
that is the posse that I rode with. Kim, Albert, and Tony, and we're all still here after 2 years. So I think that I would have won a few bets with people who sort of suggested, yeah, it'll be 6 months, 10 months, and then you guys will all find better stuff to do. So no one has necessarily not found better stuff to do, but they still are doing this in addition to the better stuff they have to do. So I do want to say, and I've got a lot to do today, chunk of Trump coming up, update on Milton, the damage there. Michael Shure in the second hour. We'll look at the week in politics, the resurgence of Elon Musk as a relevant force in Trump land, what Trump is doing, the charm offensive from Kamala Harris with Stephen Colbert, Howard Stern, The View, etc. All of these things we will touch on with Michael Shure. In fact, I may even play him this is a Lincoln Project spot that I thought was pretty good. So all of these things still to come, but I did want to at least acknowledge that many of the regular contributors that started on this show, Michael Shure among them, very much a part of our success. And when I say success, we're a crowd-funded show. Part of the show is just trying to make ends meet. And many of you have stepped up, particularly in the early going, and you funded the show. And we are this NPR PBS model, as I've said to you before. It's now found everywhere, right? Substack. They're just essentially everyone everywhere is pitching you for support. Mm-hmm. And what you have done here is you've been generous, and many of you, as I say, started at the very beginning, and then you stayed with us. And you have allowed us to stay afloat. And we were just barely afloat. I will tell you, I met with the accountants yesterday, and we did a whole kind of evaluation of what is going on with the show and how long we can keep doing the show and this sort of thing. And I want you to know, my sense is we can keep doing it for a long, long time, but we're just barely afloat. And but when I say that, that's huge, because at the beginning of the show, I was taking a loss on the show, and now I'm not. We are able to make ends meet. So if you want to support the show, you can visit us at themarkthompsonshow.com. You can click the Patreon and PayPal links, and you can be a part of the community that supports us. But really what I'm saying to you now is that many of you have already done that. And in so doing, you gave us the altitude, you gave us the momentum, and I'm really grateful. I talk about this with Kim, with Albert, with anyone who asks me. I would not exist on this platform without your support and without the support of this community that has been so very generous and connected to this show. And we feel connected to you. I get emails from people who say, and we just had a reference yesterday, you got me through whatever it might be, chemotherapy. You got me through a hospice for my elderly parent. You just are part of my day, and I love that. It's a really special, touching thing.
A bypass surgery.
Triple
right?
bypass.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So we all feel so honored, says Trevor Starr in Hollywood, that for 2 whole years you haven't been able to find anything better to do. Praise, high praise indeed. Yeah, this has really been great. And listen, I love this forum. I really have. Now, I will tell you, my favorite thing is radio. I love KGO Radio, but KGO Radio is gone. So now it's here, and there are a lot of advantages to this forum. Ron Cook, check you out. Super sticker for $50.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Ron Cook. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I might say, Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. In any case, thank you guys. Greetings from Denmark, Mark.
What?
Love the show. Watch it every day. What up,
That's
Denmark?
awesome. Love it.
Shout out to Denmark.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Man, Denmark. Everything just seems better over there in Denmark. Am I wrong? Have I romanticized the image of Denmark? Maybe I have. Just all seems better. Good morning from Thayer, Missouri, checking in. What up, Thayer, Missouri?
Fun.
Debbie in Thayer, Missouri.
Is Missouri a red state or a swing state?
Yes, it is REDDDD.
Okay.
But Debbie, I'm guessing, is not
No.
REDDDD.
No. She's a bright spot.
Yes, very, very cool. Anyway, thank you guys. Good morning from Sunnyvale, says Manuel Martinez. What up, Sunnyvale?
Big shout out.
Yeah, in the heart of Silicon Valley.
In the heart of Niners territory.
Niners territory for sure. And Vilma, who has been with us since the beginning, writes this. When you started the show, it seemed as though you were going day to day. We loved you guys and wanted you to stay on. 50,000 subscribers, here we come. Exactly, Vilma. And thank
Big
you.
shout
You're
out.
a big supporter, Vilma.
Yeah.
You're in the chat. You support us with financially. A couple of people have sent us checks. You've contacted me at the email and said, hey, I'm not on PayPal and I'm not on Patreon, whatever. I don't use a credit card. Can I send you a check? And the answer, and I write them back and give them the address, and they have.
Wow.
So we've even received support that way. It's so very both exciting and rewarding to get that kind of support. Lucy McAllister, we mentioned her. She seems very active recently. Big shout out to Lucy McAllister, who is
Big shout out.
my
Your favorite
McAllister with another
I know.
$10 super sticker.
She's also my newest Facebook friend.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have found each other.
We
It's nice
have.
that there isn't a competition
No.
between McAllisters. You're
As much as you try to foster one, there's still love.
I do. I like a little competition. I think it's healthy. Yeah. But I'm not quite full Donald Trump, where he likes to pit his cabinet officials against each other. Remember when he was
Sure.
president? Yeah. But I do think a little healthy competition. Sometimes it gets you on point a little bit more. Wes Theory. Wes has been here since the beginning as well. Super sticker for 5.
Big shout out.
Thank you, my friend. Big shout out to Wes. So there is a special thing happening, and I want to let you know. We've given you some word about it along the way, but today,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I really wanted to fill you in on some of the details. And, you know, I think this is best done over, let me see if I can find some sophisticated music, because it does have the patina of sophistication about it, the San Francisco Fall Show.
Oh.
And patina is a ding word, by the way.
Is there some autumnal music you can pull up?
Autumnal's a ding word. That'll work, baby. Yeah. A little jazz music. Yeah, right on. Hey, everybody, it's Mark Thompson. The San Francisco Fall Show is coming up. Art, antiques, and design.
That's right.
It is going to be great. We will be there. And when I say we, I mean myself and Courtney. Both are going. And this isn't an official show event or anything, but please do come and definitely say hi. It's a San Francisco Fall Show. It's in Fort Mason, which is right there on the bay, October 17th through October 20th. And one of the things that's exciting about this, it's the 42nd year of the show, is that it's an important event supporting fine art and design communities in San Francisco. And it's very accessible. I mean, it seems like something that would be, oh, it's so expensive. The tickets are $20 with our 25% discount using our show code. So grab tickets. I mean, it's $20 a piece. And it's at the Festival Pavilion at Fort Mason. Here's how you get tickets. sffallshow.org. That's also the website where you'll get all this information about what the show is, and then there are lectures there, and they're all Courtney's attending all these different lectures, and I'll be knocking around looking like a guy who's out of place. But so you can say hi, and we can grab. There's a pop-up restaurant there. In fact, Izzy's is going to have a pop-up restaurant on site there at the Festival Pavilion in Fort Mason. So plenty of ways to hang out. Tickets are at eventbrite.com. Bright is B-R-I-T-E. Tickets at eventbrite.com, and then enter our discount code, all capital letters, MARK. So again, the San Francisco Fall Show is coming up. It's next week, 17th through the 20th. And we will be there, Courtney and myself, and love to hang out, love to talk. Again, it's not an official event. We're really there just to show the love to the San Francisco Fall Show. And again, use our discount code MARK, and it's about $20 a ticket. And I think you'll have a great, great time.
So I was just kicking around on their website. Let me tell you, because I like the exhibitors, you know, that you walk around and kind of check things out like a fair.
Sure.
Here's some of the things they have. They have antique frames, mirrors, and gilded objects. So like those old-fashioned,
Yes.
Yeah. They have fine antique maps and atlases.
Oh,
This
that's
is
very cool.
Yeah, you know those old maps, if you've been looking for a map of your favorite vacation spot or map of the world, and they're all framed and they look, you know, worldly. I love that stuff. And then they have European furniture and decorative arts. This is cool. They've got they've got so much stuff. They've got modern furniture on display, if that's your thing. 18th and 19th century English continental furniture and unusual works of art displayed.
Ooh.
That's cool. And they have a whole jewelry section and a fashion section.
It's
Something
no wonder
interesting.
Courtney's into it when you say all
Yeah.
that, because she really loves this stuff, and
Yeah.
she is way into art and design. And there's an opening night gala. I think that's sold out on the 16th. So really, just grab the $20 tickets with our discount code MARK, M-A-R-K, all caps, and then come to the show. And then there's all sorts of stuff, as Kim has mentioned, and then these lectures and these. I'm actually looking forward to it. Exposes me to something that I probably wouldn't be exposed to. Courtney is the one who gets me into some of these situations that really are a lot of fun, and I never thought they would be. When it comes to design and art and museums and this sort of thing, she's really opened my eyes. So, I mean, I would just be a guy on the couch drinking a beer and watching ESPN if it weren't for Courtney. So anyway, I'm excited about the SF Fall Show.
Yeah.
You know how much I love the Bay Area and San Francisco, and this supports the community, the design and fine art community. And then, as I say, it's just an accessible ticket at, at $20 with our discount code, MARK, all capital letters. The San Francisco Fall Show, 17th through the 20th of October. We will see you there, I hope. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
all right, much to do, and today's the day to do it. What a day yesterday. In the world of politics is getting superheated, as you know, with the addition of Barack Obama to the stump for Kamala Harris, her charm offensive. A lot of that we'll get to with Michael Shure in the second hour. I didn't want to neglect what's happening in Florida, and I also want to give you a note. And I'll give you the note after we get an update from Kim on what's going on with Milton. It would seem Milton deadly, right, did tremendous damage, even as they're saying, I was reading this morning, in some ways, they got lucky that there wasn't as much damage as there could be. I don't know how they could say that. It looks to me like everything is obliterated and they're floodwaters that continue Give me the update.
The floodwaters aren't receding. So they're still asking people to stay out of these areas. You would think that, afterward that the waters would kind of go away, but they're sticking around. So far, 16 people have died, but sadly, the number's expected to rise as they find more people in the wreckage of what's going on here. This is 1,000 people that have been rescued so far in these areas that are affected. And again, the floodwaters are still really, really dangerous. So when Milton roared ashore, they say the winds were at 120 miles an hour. So now you're looking at the damage from that and from floodwaters that are staying around. And I don't know what happens when, to properties when the floodwaters don't recede. And it's not that your home or your, living room or whatever has been underwater for a couple of hours. We're talking now, we're going on days. So what does that do mold-wise? What does that do to the foundation? I don't know what happens there. But yeah, this is
oh my God, there'll be
scary.
all sorts of ramifications, as you say, repercussions from the fact that the floodwaters are not receding. These tornadoes came through at the same time. I was reading about this country club where many people were affected. There were fatalities there at this country club in St. Lucie County. It's a really destructive weather event, of course, a hurricane, but within the overall destructive event, there are these micro destructive events like tornadoes. And essentially, the weather system itself spawns these massively destructive thunderstorms and tornadoes, and that's what happened as well. In addition to the wall of water, which is all there, as you could see, causing all the flooding issues.
They said this is a 1 in 1,000 year rainfall event. 18 inches of rain fell because of this hurricane.
I mean, the reality is, of course, now they're going to have to recalibrate that 1,000 year thing because the Earth is changing so radically, so quickly, that they are going to have to allow for the fact that this stuff is going to happen more frequently in these places that are flood prone and are exposed to tropical weather. This was the stadium. That was a quick shot of the stadium, wasn't it, Albert? What was the stadium that?
Tropicana.
Is that it? Where
the Rays
where the
play?
roof?
Yeah, the
where
Tampa Bay
roof-
Rays play here.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be an evacuation site because if you see below, it's really small in this shot, but there's a bunch of cots there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see. So, I mean, imagine the place you're supposed to be in as an evacuee is exposed like that. It was a desperate, desperate scene as this thing moved through. So, I mean, that's perhaps the greatest visual in a scenario that's filled with insane visuals. Look at all the destruction from the boats. And what I was going to say, just to put a fine point on it, as you saw Milton, sort of finish off a 1-2 punch of hurricanes that moved in to rake Florida, the southeast, and the mid-Atlantic region. What we typically do, particularly in Florida, I think Florida is, I think they're the leaders in making this mistake. And the mistake is this: you just build back. You don't really take precautions to try to build seawalls, which is kind of something that's talked about in the case of San Francisco. They've talked about the exposure of parts of San Francisco to rising ocean and these things that are inevitable. I mean, we can say with certainty these things are going to happen, just as we can say with certainty and have for years that these tropical weather systems are going to be more intense and more destructive. But what happens? We just build back. And so I'd suggest constructively that things have to be viewed in a different way. Look at how the insurance companies view them. They're pulling out of these areas. You may still want to live there, but you are going to have to build these structures in different ways and with exposures that are different. Otherwise, you will end up repeating this in a kind of Groundhog Day way, in a tragic Groundhog Day way, year after year.
these disasters are so commonplace now that FEMA says while they do have enough money to handle hurricanes Helene and Milton, that they are going to run out of money. They do need Congress to pass more supplemental funding. And I just wonder, because there are members of Congress that are in Florida that now, are hoping for FEMA funding, and they didn't pass extra funding for FEMA. And so when the bill comes up for supplemental funding for FEMA, are these folks in the red zones that now have to work with Democrats going to be able to support this type of funding? And they need to.
This is such a good point that Kim is making, because it seems inconceivable that you would vote against FEMA supplemental spending and then call for aid from FEMA.
Yeah.
And yet that's exactly what's happening in Florida. And these Florida Republicans, like Matt Gaetz is one of them. I mentioned it the other day. Now he's calling for FEMA funding. He voted against, a supplemental funding package. So this is outrageous. And I think there are, I want to say 9 others, somewhere around 9 others in Florida who voted against it. So this same agency that you're depending on, and actually works quite well. The history on FEMA is pretty strong under the Biden administration. The last bad days of FEMA we saw, I thought, laid bare, of course, was during Katrina. But, now you see that the agency, and by the way, I've made this point before, but I'll just say it again. They have a continuing resolution where they'll be able to pay for a lot of the stuff that they have to pay for now to handle the immediate needs of the population there in Florida and those who are affected by the most intense results of this hurricane season. But what they will need is a supplement that will beef up FEMA. And as Kim has said, you're going to have to handle these events and these tragedies with greater frequency. The ferocity of this system that we just saw move through is, on a standard that makes it a record breaker. And you're getting more and more of that, just as we were breaking records in temperatures nationwide. We must change the framework of some of these government agencies. This is what government does well. For all this crap about how government can't do this and government can't do that, and the famous Reagan phrase, the scariest line is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. The reality is FEMA is there to help, and they do it well. And so they need money, and I do believe that you have to reallocate. Maybe you can jackhammer a little money out of that Pentagon budget, that bloated Pentagon budget, that virtually unaudited Pentagon budget. The Pentagon budget is so bloated, it's obscene. You could take that budget and cut it in half, and you wouldn't lose a step. Of course, the reason the Pentagon budget doesn't get cut is because it's a political loser, right? You don't want to be the person running for office who's suggesting a cut in the Pentagon budget. Don't you care about national defense? Meantime, we're wasting money on these weapon systems. Many of them don't work. Most of that money doesn't leave the Beltway. It doesn't leave Washington. It's the defense contractor dance. Take some of that money and direct it toward FEMA and permanently beef up their budget. Look at the way money is taken from FEMA during the Donald Trump administration. He took FEMA money to direct it to the border where he could then
build a wall?
Cage families. No, it was for the caging.
The cages,
that was what he did. Yeah. He took other money from, because he couldn't get, I always thought on the wall thing, and then I do want to get to what happened in Detroit. I don't know how I got to get to Kim's news, I guess, but then I'll get to Detroit. Don't worry. We'll talk about Trump in Detroit. I've got Chunk of Trump, Michael Shure, all coming up, and Kamala Harris as well. I have new polling, and it's completely conflicted polling. I'll get to that. But I always just want to finish the thought. I always thought this wall thing, we're going to build a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. I mean, it's such obvious BS. I didn't think anybody would really go for it. And then when the guy won and became president of the United States, I thought, well, I know Congress is never going to allocate the funding for that, right? So, and you can't have that kind of tens of millions of dollars being spent on this ridiculous wall thing to actually come to pass without Congress. You know, there you have to appropriate the money. So, sure enough, Congress didn't appropriate the money. Trump took it. Trump took it from defense stuff. So, if you track that, you can find it, and you can see where he took that money. Similarly, the Democrats should be a little more aggressive in that area. And as long as you're taking from places, I think defense budget is a good place to take it, because that is a bloated budget on the scale of which the world has, never seen before. That's where you can use the
I've never seen anything like it.
Exactly. That's where he's right. So that's a word on what's happening with Milton and on FEMA funding. And again, I mean, Congress isn't even there. So even if you wanted them, Congress, you understand, they're gone they came back for a week about 2 weeks ago, and then they're gone until after the first of the year. It's crazy. I mean, they're back with their districts. Anyway, that's that. A word about FEMA and a word about natural disasters.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's News, and when we come back, we have a quick conversation. I'm looking forward to a conversation with Rich from Tenuta Vineyard. And then I do want to share the latest polling with you. There is, I know, like polling, oh my God, this is swing state polling that is completely at odds with itself. I mean, it is, oh my God, Kamala Harris has fallen behind. It's an appreciable number, and she's fallen behind enough that we should really be worried if we're in Kamala Harris camp. And then the Wall Street Journal hits the stands today, and it says, Harris ahead in Wall Street Journal polling in swing states.
Oh, thank God.
So you should be worried if you're in Trump camp. So, again, what will happen? It's too close to call. Everything's within the margin of error, but I will share some of those numbers with you as we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. And we'll talk about Hurricane Milton. Again, it has killed at least 16 people, the number expected to rise. This hit Florida's west coast Wednesday night as a powerful Category 3 hurricane, bringing with it torrential rains, powerful winds, and tornadoes. More than 1,000 people have been rescued so far, but officials are warning the floodwaters here are still dangerous in some areas. Meanwhile, President Biden is traveling to Florida on Sunday to visit the affected areas hit by Hurricane Milton. The White House says the president will visit the areas impacted by the storm. And on Friday, the president said House Speaker Mike Johnson needs to step up to help small businesses with needed aid. The president has said Congress needs to come back to D.C. and make sure that FEMA has all the funding that it needs. Some good news today, though, regarding inflation. The Labor Department reported the Producer Price Index was flat for the month and up 1.8% from a year ago. Economists had predicted a slight increase after August's 0.2% rise. The PPI measures what producers get for goods and services. Analysts say the data makes it more likely the Federal Reserve will be cutting interest rates again come November.
So even though the guy in that graph is pushing the grocery cart strict up the arrow, you're saying really the arrow isn't up like that.
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yeah.
There's just 25 days now until Election Day as the candidates continue to hit the campaign trail. Former President Trump is set to make a stop in Aurora, Colorado. He'll then make a stop in Reno, Nevada. Meanwhile, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz will speak in Michigan. His running mate, Vice President Harris, returns to Washington, D.C. after campaigning in Arizona on Thursday. So things are heating up there. By the way, I was just reading an article. They don't want Trump to play golf anymore for the remainder of election season. because they say they can't protect him, the Secret Service.
No?
So yeah, he's on a golf ban.
Wow.
I'm sure that's very difficult.
Well, it's finally give other people a chance to win because he was so dominant as
Well, of
a
course.
player. Yeah.
Concerns and questions remain for the Georgia residents living close to a biolab chemical facility. A fire at the chemical plant outside Atlanta triggered a chemical reaction that sent a huge plume of toxic smoke into the surrounding community. This happened September 29th. It prompted county officials to enact shelter-in-place orders for the next 2 weeks. Several schools and businesses were also forced to close as the air there caused physical symptoms for many people. A new California bar exam is a step closer to happening. The state Supreme Court agreed to allow questions that are intended to focus more on legal skills than theory, saying they should be different from those in the past. So anyone who wants to practice law here in California might also be able to take the test at home with remote monitoring. Officials say these changes alone would save millions. The exam is offered only in February and July.
It just seems like that. I guess that home monitoring, I don't really know about it. Maybe you do because you have, kids are in the education system. But isn't there, it just feels like it's ripe for cheating. Am I wrong?
I don't know. We've never had an
when
important exam at home.
When you have an exam being proctored there live, it's very hard to cheat. But when you're, I don't know.
I don't know what the monitoring consists of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whether do you have to give them access to keystrokes on your computer to make sure you're not Googling the answers? I don't know.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, it looks like more homeless people are off the streets. The tent count is down 60% since July to now 242, which marks the lowest level since 2018. Mayor London Breed says crews assisted more than 950 people into shelters this year, proving they're not just sweeping them from one place to another. She explained they can't force anyone to take help, but they will continue to clear out encampments and offer services as well. Speaking of San Francisco, kind of an exciting day. Fleet Week. At 11 a.m., fans can set their sights on the water right near the Golden Gate Bridge to catch the parade of ships arriving in the bay, and soon after it'll be time for the air show. This year's headliner, of course, the crowd favorite, the Blue Angels. Look at that shot.
That is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Wow. The Blue Angels, for those just listening, it's the Blue Angels air show as they fly over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
It's so stunning when the weather is good, which it really is most of the time. It's one of the most beautiful vistas in the world.
Social media buzzing. I don't know if you've been on Facebook, but a lot of people posting pictures of the Northern Lights over Northern California. Again, a lot of people caught this display in the sky last night. Solar material expelled from the sun this week collided with the Earth's magnetic field, triggering geomagnetic storms. It caused the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, to appear in places they normally don't appear. For those who missed it, a series of meteor showers is expected to be visible in the state through the end of the year. Look at that picture.
That is stunning. Wow.
Is that Joshua Tree? I don't know, but it's gorgeous.
Was it visible only in Northern California? Was it visible in Southern California as well?
I saw pictures from Idaho, other states as well. I saw pictures from the Sierra. Some people here in the North Bay posted pictures. I went outside at midnight and tried to take some pictures, and I didn't get anything.
But I just don't know how far south you could see the Northern Light, like Idaho, Northern
either.
California. I mean, I don't know if Joshua Tree is, Southern California.
Right.
I don't know. But that does look like a Joshua Tree type vista. So, anyway.
Yeah. Lastly, Tesla is taking the wraps off of its robo-taxi. CEO Elon Musk showed off the company's cybercab concept at an invitation-only event yesterday at the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank, California. During the event, the attendees were told they'd be welcome to take a test ride in the cybercab. It doesn't come with a steering wheel or any pedals. Like, there's no way to commandeer this thing, nothing.
Wow.
In addition to the big reveal, Musk told the crowd, there's the cyber taxi. Okay, it does look like the car from the future, does it not?
It does look cool, yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you pictured 2025, did you see us driving around in that weird thing?
Right, yeah.
So in addition to the cybercab, Musk told the crowd that Tesla plans to have unsupervised full self-driving capabilities up and running in California and Texas next year in Model 3 and Model Y electric vehicles. And as he wrapped up his performance, Musk shared his vision for the future of his Optimus robot, saying they'll be able to babysit, walk your dog, and serve you drinks for about $20,000 to $30,000. No time frame given on that one. This report is sponsored by the incredibly, wonderfully nice folks at Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. And we had a question last week, and it was, what happens to what I'll call the foot grape juice, the foot wine? When you go to these I Love Lucy grape stomps and you get your feet in the tank and you start squishing on the grapes, do they use that liquid to then make wine? And some people said, no, it's illegal, you can't do it. I was thinking that any of the cooties that may be associated with the feet would be rendered harmless after the fermentation process. So to answer these questions and more, it's Rich from Tenuta Vineyards,
What
everybody.
about it, Rich? Look at you.
Mark
Hi.
and Sam, love you guys. Love you guys.
Always a smiling face. Rich is such great energy.
Love you right back. Welcome to the show. So
Thank you.
I don't know if you heard the question or not, but what do you do with the wine that is stomped by feet?
Well, let me, before I get to the legalities of this conversation, let me tell you, we've been doing grape stomps at Tenuta for 15, 17 years. And every time we do it, I'll go up to one of our customers and say, hey, in about 10 seconds, I want you to ask me what we do with all the juice after we're done stomping. And so I'll continue talking and someone will raise their hand and say, hey, Rich, what happens to all this juice at the end of the day when you guys are done? And I say, oh, in about 9 months, we're going to release a Toe Jam Pinot Grigio.
Oh, my God. That's just so good.
So there's a picture of some feet stomping on the grapes. So Toe Jam Pinot Grigio, only at Tenuta. And of course, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
So, but Kim, to answer your question,
Yeah.
I contacted the Livermore Valley Wine Growers Association. I also talked to Judge Judy herself. And yes, I'm just kidding about Judge Judy.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
Right.
So this is what the wine growers, Livermore wine growers said. Yes, it is legal to make wine after stomping grapes with your feet in the United States. There are no laws explicitly prohibiting this traditional method, although the FDA does not recommend it, and most modern wineries use mechanical crushers. So it is legal, but at Tenuta we dump all the juice and the grapes. We don't use it for wine.
I have a follow-up then to this, because I didn't know what happened to your wine, but I thought just from a technical standpoint, isn't there some kind of pasteurization process, or through just the time that passes that it's sitting in the vats, that any kind of real threat you might feel from, like, tasting somebody's feet, you don't need to really you don't really need to worry about it, because just the process itself would get rid of that. Is that right or wrong?
During the fermentation process, we add yeast to inoculate to get the wine going, because you're waiting for the sugar levels to get down to zero, because sugar turns to alcohol. There's filtering, there's cold stabilization with the whites. There's just so much involved that, as Kim pointed out, no cooties are in the finished product.
But yeah, and again, your wine that you bottle, and Tenuta is a successful vineyard there in the Livermore Valley. Yours is not the grape stomp wine. That's a separate thing. That's fun. That's kind of a throwback to the way it was done. But just to be clear, so I'll know, because I'm kind of a retail user of wine without knowing much about the process. The process, you're saying you add the yeast, et cetera, but there's nothing sort of by definition that would take out the taste of Bob, whose feet were on the grape. Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no toe jams in any of our wines.
No, I get that, but okay. I was just curious whether the natural process gets rid of any of that. But yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Little fun fact. This Sunday, a friend of yours, Heather Ankeny, is
Yeah,
gonna
of course,
be here.
Heather. I love Heather. Yeah, she used to be my podcast partner. Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to meet her and her friend on Sunday. They're going to be here, so I'm sure we'll
that's
take pictures and video.
absolutely awesome. Please send them. Heather, she's been on the show, I think, in the early days of the show. She was my podcast co-host on when I did The Edge, which was a show I did, a podcast prior to this. So, yeah, prior to KGO, actually. It's a long time ago. She's terrific. Wow. Yeah.
Can I ask you how the I Love Lucy grape stomps are going? Are you guys having fun out there?
Oh, Kim and Mark. Yeah, it's a whole experience. You know, people arrive at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. They get a complimentary mimosa. Nancy, owner and winemaker Nancy Tenuta, is also our chef. And then people look at me and say, if she does all that, Rich, what the heck do you do? So I say, I'm the talker. But there's appetizers, and then we wait for everybody to arrive, and then everyone brings a bucket and either garden shears or scissors. And we actually walk out into the vineyard because they get to cut the grapes off the vine.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a whole experience. And then we come back to the winery. Nancy makes a beautiful catered lunch. There's a couple surprises during lunch. And then afterwards, they get to stomp grapes just like Lucy. And it's a bucket list event. I mean, it's so much fun. So
it sounds really fun. And you guys are having not a sale, but an ongoing Mark Thompson Show exclusive where people will email you or call you and say, smash it with your iron rod.
That's correct.
And get 10% off. Have you had a lot of exuberant smash it with your iron rods? How's that going?
With your iron rod.
Yeah, and you know, even the guys that call, they do the smash it with your iron rod.
There you go.
They do
They
the
really
lady's
get into
voice.
it.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty
we have
fun.
some talent in our audience. So that's very cool. Well,
I'm sure your voicemail is full of smash it, so that's nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
reach Rich at 925-699-4576 is the number he'll pick up there, or you can email him, Rich at Tenuta, Tenuta, tenutavineyard.com, Rich at tenutavineyard.com, and you can make your reservation to do the grape stomp or whatever visit you want to set up, or you can just order. And when you order, use that discount code, which is smash it with is it
Smashed it with your iron rod.
With your
That's right.
iron rod, right.
Yeah.
In fact, Heather told me on the phone last week when she signed up for her and her girlfriend this Sunday that she can't wait to taste the Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red and the Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson's Pinot Grigio? So your wines will be flowing this Sunday.
That is so great. We're loving it.
How are you doing with the Why Are You Yelling Red supply?
Why are you yelling?
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to be doing another bottling because I'm telling you, and Kim, I know you always mention it's your favorite, and I'm sure Mark too. But yeah, it's just such a great blend, and everyone loves the label, Mark, that you did. Big picture of Mark Thompson, little picture of Mark and Kim, little picture of Mark and Albert, which I think was by design.
Yeah.
And,
I wanted the pictures of Kim and Albert to be even littler than they were, but we went as little as we could go. But I do love that. I love that blend. The blend in that. I know we talk about, and it's a fun thing, the Why Are You Yelling Red? But that to me is a great blend. It's like not too fruit forward, but it's not. But again, it's not too dry. It really, I love that wine. So
you know, honestly, it's one of those wines where you can drink it by itself. Yeah. Or it pairs with whatever you're doing for dinner. Pizza, burgers, fries, pasta, fish, chicken, steak. It's just one of those wines that goes with everything.
Yeah,
what is the
so
blend in the Why Are You Yelling Red? Do you know what the blend is?
Yeah, it's 40% Petite Syrah, 40% Cabernet, 20% Syrah.
Oh, okay.
So Cab, Petite, and Syrah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Love having you on.
Yeah.
Love having you visit. Don't know why we don't do it more. And you, I mean, it's our 2-year anniversary. You have been with us since the very beginning, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think we met the Tenuta Vineyard people at the very beginning of this show, actually at KGO because they were just listeners.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as we needed sponsors, they said, "Hey, we'll come on and we'll sponsor." And it's really been great to have you along.
And then Mark, we still talk about you and Courtney coming by the winery June of last year, and spending a couple of hours with us. And so Kim, you're the only one that we haven't met. So we
got to get out there.
Kim.
What?
Yeah.
But I am the biggest drinker of your wine, so there is that.
Let's get it going, Kim. Go on out there. It should be fun.
I need to
for the
go to
whole
Livermore.
family.
That's right.
Yeah. Love that you visit with us, as I say, and let's stay in touch, Rich, and all the best. Best to Nancy and everybody at Tenuta. Lots of love, man. Thank you.
Thank you for the support. We love you guys, love the show, and thank you for all the Mark Thompson listeners calling and texting and emailing. So
Rich
keep it coming, you guys.
Tenuta Vineyard. Bye, Rich.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on, everybody. Right on. At our Friday show, we made a decision. You may have noticed it, that we were going to forego Friday Fabulous Florida this week because of the unfolding tragedy and challenges they have there in Florida. And so just out of respect for the people of Florida, we are not going to do the segment, but we are not parking it permanently. It'll be back on the road next week. But this week, no Friday Fabulous Florida. I did want to share with you something in the way of what happened at a Trump rally. If you could get that ready, Albert. It's Trump in Detroit. And this is something that we will do in the Chunk of Trump feature that we do here regularly. By the way, while Albert readies that for you, smash the like button if you would. It helps us in the YouTube universe. It's free. Thank you for everybody who has subscribed to the show. The subscription numbers obviously help us immensely, and we're just a homegrown show. We don't really have a lot of the instruments to get the show out there. So thank you for sharing the show also on Facebook, or even if you share a video, maybe it's David K. Johnston, maybe it's Gary Dietrich, maybe it's Tom Hartman, whatever you saw or heard, and maybe it's some take that I have or some argument I'm having with Albert or Kim. If you enjoyed it and you share it, it does oftentimes bring subscribers in, and one at a time, we grow our subscriber base. All right, so here is a regular segment. We've done it from the very beginning. It started on KGO Radio, and we continue it here. We follow everybody's favorite ex-president. Here it is, a chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
He was at the Detroit Economic Club, and Donald Trump, let's be honest, he talks a good game. I would say he doesn't even talk that good a game, but apparently it's good enough a game. When he's talking economics, I always feel as though he's really way in over his head because, he pitches this kind of world of the billionaire businessman successful. But the reality is he's had 6 bankruptcies. He's bankrupted casinos. He's made these horrible deals. I'm just talking finance and business now. I'm leaving aside everything else. And still, he shows up at these economic meetings, and in this case, the Detroit Economic Club, with these statements. I'm going to, put 200% tariff. I might go 400% tariffs. He's just really spinning. He kind of riffs. We all know that. But never did I think that in Detroit, in front of their economic club, he would smear an American city and name it, in this case, Detroit. He's in Detroit, and he insults Detroit. Here is a bit from that Stump speech.
That everyone wants that someday we will continue along the path. It's been an amazing path. It's been a horrible period of time, but almost the last 4 years, I will tell you that if I get elected, we will be a piggy bank stronger than ever before, but we will be a fool no longer. I have more complaints on grocery. The word grocery, it's sort of simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does. And I have more complaints about that bacon and things going up double, triple, quadruple. They built a very big plant. Many countries, they do that. And then all of a sudden you hear that they're leaving Milwaukee or they're leaving wherever they may be located. It's very sad to see it.
This went on for nearly 3 hours.
It's so simple. I mean, this isn't like Elon with his rocket ships that land within 12 inches on the moon where they wanted to land. Or he gets the engines back. That was the first I realized. I said, who the hell did that? I saw engines about 3-4 years ago. These things were coming, cylinders, no wings, no nothing. And they're coming down very slowly, landing on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a circle. Boom. Reminded me of the Biden circles that he used to have, right? He'd have 8 circles and he couldn't fill them up. But then I heard he beat us with the popular vote. I don't know. Couldn't fill up the 8 circles. I always loved those circles. They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful to look at. In fact, the person that did them, that was the best thing about the level of that circle was great. But they couldn't get people, so they used to have the press stand in those circles because they couldn't get the people. Then I heard we lost. Oh, we lost. No, we're never going to let that happen again. But we've been abused by other countries.
And there you go. Thank you. That was actually, this is not the order I wanted to do it originally, but it's fine. That was him blithering to give you just a sense of his madness. I mean, if you were to see that, as you just have,
crazy,
you would think, who is this guy? What's he talking about? I mean, if Joe Biden spoke like that, they would have done to Joe Biden what they did, which is said, sir, you got to step down. And of course, the GOP falls in line. There's also a Detroit insult that he leveled, Albert. I thought I sent it to you, but if you can't put your hands on it, I just sent it to you again. I haven't.
There's nothing that says vote for me than leveling an insult to the fine people of the city in which you're standing. Come on.
I mean, it is odd that you would go to Detroit and then you would insult Detroit. You need Michigan. Michigan is a swing state. And as I mentioned yesterday, and we showed you kind of the math on it, he is leading in Michigan in many polls because his demagoguery, particularly regarding the auto industry, seems to be carrying weight there. It's insane. I don't understand it. We talked about the EV market and how it's creating jobs. But that aside, Trump just spins this craziness. Now, this is Trump in Detroit, though, with a straight-on, in-your-face insult of Detroit.
Is high on our list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed, along with Newsom, California. I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like.
So after he's insulted Detroit, Detroit's mayor, Mike Duggan, he says, hey, dude, Detroit is fine. Detroit is great. I don't know what you're talking about. Detroit is the backbone of a lot of the American dream. We are rebuilding here. I mean, it was quite impressive how he came forward. And he was just one of a few prominent Democrats who responded right away after Trump went to Detroit and started insulting Detroit.
You know what else he said about Detroit, which we didn't get to in that clip? He said he called it kind of a developing nation. He said, just take a look at Detroit. Detroit's a developing area, hell, a lot more than most places in China. Wow.
The mayor said Detroit just hosted the largest NFL draft in history. The Tigers are back in the playoffs. The Lions are headed for the Super Bowl. Crime is down, and our population is growing. Then in a video, he criticized Trump for, he said, a fuzzy memory. What a polite way to put it. He says, since Donald Trump left office, the unemployment rate in Detroit is way down. The homicide rate is way down. And our population is growing for the first time since the 1950s. In fact, the best thing that happened to Detroit was when Donald Trump left office and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came in and gave us real partners. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
That is a...
Good day,
sir.
Exactly.
Michigan's governor also on X posted this last night. Detroit is the epitome of grit, defined by winners willing to get their hands dirty to build up their city and create communities, something Donald Trump could never understand. So she said, keep Detroit out of your mouth. Like Will Smith, right?
Is great.
Keep Detroit out of your mouth, and you better believe Detroiters won't forget this in November, she wrote.
Wow. Yeah. Keep that.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Keep Detroit out your mouth.
Man. That's your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
What else did I give you, Albert, in the way of video? Is there anything I want to make sure I don't skip anything, but I also don't want to necessarily go to something that I want for Michael Short. Was there anything else I had?
I have a video of Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to, let me, should we go with what would you like? The polling or Obama? I will ask you, let me see. I'll ask the chat. What would you like, the polling or Obama? I will take a quick poll in the live viewers. I've got polling that is from the swing states that is conflicting with itself, but I still want to share it with you. And then I have Obama on the stump. What do you want? You decide. Shadow producer Calvin Wong says Obama. Colleen says Obama. Christopher says Obama. It's looking like Obama, Obama, Obama.
Yeah.
The lady Beatrice says Obama.
Yeah.
Polling says Delwood Kelp. Obama. Says B.A. Ware. It looks like Obama. In our flash poll, it is Obama. So I will, however, have the polling for you when we get to Michael Shure, but right now...
The Mark Thompson Show.
Man, when you hear a little bit of Barack Obama on the stump, you realize how at ease he is.
Yeah.
He just speaks powerfully, but with an ease that is quite special. Obviously, the best orator of this crew, and I mean, maybe the best orator in our lifetimes, you know. This is Donald Trump's, Donald Trump really getting lit up by Barack Obama on the stump. Go ahead, Albert.
Absolutely
this is just last night.
No evidence
in Pennsylvania
that this man thinks about anybody but himself. I've said it before. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. You've got the tweets in all caps, the ranting and the raving about crazy conspiracy theory. You got the 2-hour speeches, word salad, just, it's like Fidel Castro. Just on and on. Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that? Selling you gold sneakers and a $100,000 watch and most recently a Trump Bible. He wants you to buy the Word of God, Donald Trump edition. Got his name right there next to Matthew and Luke. Reason some people think, well, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts. As I recall, Donald Trump was president for 4 years. And if rounding up and deporting millions of desperate people and building the beautiful wall, and didn't matter whether some of those folks you rounded up were women and children. If that's the answer to everything, well, why didn't you solve the problem? Why were the number of immigrants basically the same when you left office as when you took office? I'll tell you why. Because he didn't have a real plan. He had talking points. He had concepts of a plan. And the plan was mean and ugly.
So, Gene.
Thanks for that. I think it's just, as I say, so impressive the way he moves from topic to topic, keeps it on point, keeps it simple, and there's an ease of his oratory that is just so special. But I don't know if you want to calculate how effective it is politically, you know, whether it'll motivate voters in Pennsylvania, in this case, to get out and actually vote. I hope it does. Remember, we're playing right around the margins. So for me, I'm sorry, I am partisan on this issue. I really don't think Donald Trump should be anywhere near the White House. And I'm sure when he becomes president and he starts going after everybody who's ever spoken ill of him, I'll start speaking in flowery, flattering ways about Donald Trump. But until then, I can speak truthfully and say this guy who did engineer a coup on the United States, he engineered a coup. Okay, leave aside his fake economic numbers. Leave aside the fact that he just said inflation has never been higher when Kim just showed you the numbers, and they are approaching 2%, which was the goal of the feds to lower interest rates. I mean, the economic numbers, if they were a patient going in for a physical, the doctor would be excited. You look great, and all of your labs came back, and you're getting better, and you're almost 100%. The things that are related to prices, inflation, etc., those are real concerns, but I think from a government standpoint, there's a limit to what you can do. They're driven by free market. They're also driven by interruptions in the supply chain that we're still beginning to recover from. I always talk about the rocket feather. It's a precept in economics that they talk about where prices shoot up like a rocket. You see it particularly spoken of when you talk about fuel prices, oil prices, okay? That there's any excuse to raise prices, right? So if there's a refinery maintenance that they're doing or whatever, it rockets up the price at the pump. Same thing with the supply chain. Like there's a legitimate reason that prices are rising, but they rocket up. But once the supply chain problems begin to be solved, they feather down, they float down, they don't shoot back down, right? That is the greed that's built into this system of capitalism. There is no way out of it, although I liked the fact that Kamala Harris talks about price gouging. Technically, it's not price gouging what has happened to the American consumer, but that said, I still think it's a good thing to lean in on. It's a way also to say, hey, I recognize that these prices are not where we want them to be. But still, back to the macroeconomic numbers and how positive they are, no matter what Trump says, we're actually in really great shape. His plan for, I put it in quotes, plan, since he really doesn't have a plan. His plan, which I guess is tariffs, and he shoots around, there's going to be a tax cut for you and a tax cut for you, and you're going to get money, and the middle class, it's utter BS. We've seen it. We've lived it. And so I wonder and hope whether or not Obama's words, which are both honest and I think effective, at least in the moment, whether they'll get more people out to vote in Pennsylvania, which is a state that, of course, is desperately needed. Probably not possible to win the White House without it. You'd have to run the table in the Sun Belt states, as they call them, right? So, you know, in Arizona and Nevada, and you'd need to do things that historically Democrats haven't done, but Kamala Harris actually looks as though she's got signs of life in some of those areas, so maybe it's possible. But Pennsylvania is the key to the whole game, and that's why both parties and both candidates are dumping so much money and time in those areas. So
another Trump story that I don't know if you saw this or not, but I know we talked a couple of days ago about this whole Trump sending Vladimir Putin COVID test kits during the height of the pandemic. Sure. Well, the former President Trump denied that. He's saying, I didn't do that. Now the Kremlin has come out today confirming, yes, you did, that yes, you did send Putin Russia COVID-19 test kits. So I thought that's interesting that even the Kremlin is coming out to confirm the story and say that is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Delwood Kelp, who is a big Trumper, hates that Kamala Harris. Yeah, radical lefty, right, Delwood? Signs of life, Mark? What a low bar to set. Yeah, she's showing signs of life in a state that's traditionally red. I think that's a good, if you want to parse my language like that, go ahead, dude. But is that what you want? You want to fight with me, Delwood Kelp? Is that what you want? I wish I had as cool a name as you do. Delwood Kelp is a very cool name. I doubt it's your name, but I give you credit for having chosen a really good fake name. Yeah. So how about that? But I don't give you credit for any kind of insightful remark. I think that was just you were being cheeky and sly. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Good day, sir.
I'll work myself up. Thanks, Mark and team, for 2 fun years, says S.J. Lola from San Jose, California.
Woo!
Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you for $50 into the coffers of the show. We are a crowd-funded show, and you in the crowd, like San Jose Lola, who fund us, make such a big difference. Thank you for the 50 and appreciate it, Lola. And, you know, we scroll the names of everyone who is part of our history month to month, part of the community that supports this show. We scroll them all at the end of every show because that's really how we stay on the air. So thank you very much. Live show, we're on from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the East. We're on from 11 to 1 in the West, and your time zone may vary after that. Terry says, happy anniversary. Thanks for the last 2 years. So much better than KGO. Well,
Wow.
That's interesting.
Big shout out.
I see some advantages here for sure. Yeah. We used to take text messages at KGO, remember? I mean, I loved doing that.
Which was great, but there was no way for the texters to interact. And
That's
now
true.
there's
That's right.
this whole, people have relationships and friendships, and there's meetups at wineries. I mean, this is cool. This is really cool. Yeah.
Debbie supports us on this anniversary day.
Big shout out.
Happy anniversary. She throws us a 20 and she says, and ask Michael Shure why so many Latino voters are voting for Trump when, although many may be U.S. citizens, he berates their family members and friends who have followed them into the U.S. We'll ask Michael Shure that. Why is Trump enjoying so much support from immigrant communities that he absolutely goes after relentlessly day after day? Latina community and Latino voters.
Michael Shure is here, by the way.
Michael Shure is here. Wow. Well, thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that. And thanks, everybody. I did want to mention one thing before I get to Michael Shure. Bay Area folk, we are coming to San Francisco. Courtney and myself and anybody else who wants to be part of the Cool Kid Gang. We are coming to the San Francisco Fall Show. The San Francisco Fall Show has been around for 42 years. It's held at Fort Mason, which is right there on the bay, gorgeous spot. And it's there at the Festival Pavilion at Fort Mason. Art, antiques, design, there are classes, there are lectures, book signings. You can attend all of this stuff every day, 17th through the 20th. That's next weekend. Starting the 17th is, I believe it's Thursday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Anybody? Nobody?
Count it out?
I think it's Thursday, Thursday through Sunday, of next week.
Yeah, Thursday through the weekend.
Yeah, Thursday through the weekend. It's going to be
Thank you very
good.
much.
Albert, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Albert already had it, Kim, so you don't get any credit for having gotten it out. All
I
right.
don't need the credit. That's
all right.
okay.
Anyway, it's 17th through the 20th. It will be a great event. Now, how do you get there? You can see a lot of the stuff that'll be featured. As I say, it's art, it's design.
Look at the maps on the right. I'm into the maps. I might just go for the maps. This is cool.
Antique. What do they call that? Cartography? Is that what that's called, Michael Shure, with the maps? I feel like you would know
mapping
that.
is called cartography.
Thank you very much. All right. And thank you. Go back to the green room, please. What I did want to tell you is that in the middle of all of this, there's a pop-up restaurant. Izzy's is going to have a pop-up restaurant on site. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a bar. That's where you'll find me. 17th through the 20th at Fort Mason, right there at the Festival Pavilion at Fort Mason. Most of all, get tickets. They're only $20 with our discount code, around 20, I think, because we have 25% off the ticket price if you put in our ticket code. SF Fall Show, October 17th through the 20th at Fort Mason. Again, you can order tickets through... You want to put the next banner up just to show everybody how they get tickets? Thank you. sffallshow.org, sffallshow.org. And tickets are also at eventbrite.com. B-R-I-T-E is how you spell bright there. Eventbrite.com. Enter the code, though, to get 25% off your tickets. All capital letters, MARK, M-A-R-K. M-A-R-K. The San Francisco Fall Show. See you there, 17th through 20th. Check it out. I think we're all going to have fun, and please do say hi.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy has been with us since the very beginning. It's our 2-year anniversary, and he has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. Put it together for the great Michael Shure, everybody. Yeah.
Am I out of the green room?
You're out of the green room and onto the ice, as you would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Shure, will you answer first the question that was just asked about the general election vote and the fact that the Latino community, and again, I think it's always tough to paint one community or one group of people in any one way, but it is odd that the Latino community can be hammered relentlessly by Trump, and still he can find so much support there from the standpoint of voters. Can you explain that or square that for us?
Yeah, it's the economy, stupid, is the best way to say it. The economy doesn't know if you're Hispanic or Black or Jewish or white, or if you work middle-class jobs or if you work in an office every day. The economy, the cost of living, all of that affects everybody. And, for Hispanic voters, just like all of us, if the cost of living seems high, if it doesn't seem like making ends meet is as easy as it was, what do? You take it out on the people that are in power at that moment. And then, I think that there is, it goes a little deeper than the economy. I mean, there's always a percentage of Latino voters who are resentful of a looser immigration policy, or one that has been painted as being looser, just because they are Hispanic. Immigration is not their number one issue. And as a matter of fact, there are a lot of people who have been here for 2 or 3 generations who resent looser immigration policies. They don't like being lumped in with people who are illegal, being mistaken for being illegal, especially in states like Nevada, where the job market is very different than it would be in other places. And there are a lot of illegal immigrants working in Nevada, but there are also a lot of established citizens, green card holders, the descendants of illegal immigrants who are American citizens and working hard and are resentful of being lumped in with that crew. So there are lots of things at play, but at the end of the day, it's the economy.
Shout out producer Calvin Wan also adds he thinks it's because of anti-abortion and religion that they still back Trump. That used to be the case. Is that still the case?
I mean, it absolutely.
On some level, maybe. Yeah.
On some level. I mean, many of them are Catholics and devout Catholics who find abortion to be, anathema to the way they live their lives. But I still think that they vote on issues of the economy, to a certain extent, healthcare, which you would think would make them more like Democrats. But I think the immigration is not as big a deal. I don't think that religiosity is. I think it's really economy.
Vilma points out that a lot of these Hispanic radio stations are being bought up by right-wing media giants and influencing their listeners that way, too. Never even thought of that. That's a great, great point. I mean, the Latino community...
It's an excellent point. Yeah, it's what their echo chamber is as well. And that kind of influence, just like you don't have to be any certain color to be susceptible to the influence of radio and media. And that's a great point.
And now to the polling, which is all over the place. So, if you woke up yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, you saw swing state polls where Trump leads in 4 of 7 of these battleground states. Kamala Harris behind Trump in Michigan. They're tied, I guess, in the Emerson poll released yesterday. And Trump has actually lost 2 points since the September survey, where he was leading. But in Wisconsin, she's behind. Trump leads by 2 points. Again, this is in the Quinnipiac poll, and the two are tied at 49% in the Emerson poll. That's, again, a 1-point gain for Harris, well within the margin of error, as can be said about all of these. And in the Fox 38 average, she's up 0.8 of a point. Now to Pennsylvania. Harris leads Trump 49% to 46% in the Quinnipiac poll. Again, Trump is behind. In the Emerson poll, a 1-point gain for each candidate since September. And the Emerson survey found that Trump is up 48 to 47%. And in 538's polling average, it's 0.7 of a point for Harris. And I can go on. In Arizona, Trump leads by 2 points. In Georgia, Trump leads Harris by 1 point. In Nevada, Harris is up 1 point, 48 to 47%. And in North Carolina, Trump has reversed Harris's 1-point lead since Emerson's September survey in its latest poll, showing him leading her 49 to 48%. So when you do all of the reading through these polls in these states, it does look like Trump is gaining some ground. Then you wake up today, and there's a Wall Street Journal poll, and the Wall Street Journal poll is just the opposite. The Wall Street Journal poll shows Harris. Albert, do you have those graphics on the Wall Street Journal poll? Wall Street Journal poll actually shows Harris up. Now, this is a breakdown in questioning of the economy, okay? So who's best able to handle each of the following? Economy, you can see Trump continues to have that lead. I mean, these are all things that are inexplicable to me, Michael Shure, but you can explain it, maybe. Inflation, immigration and border security, these are all the top 3 that Trump leads by a considerable margin. Then when you get to housing affordability, health care, cares about people like you, and stand up for the American worker, that's when Kamala Harris comes along again. And how about the next one, Albert, please? Then I'll shut up and I'll let Michael just give you the sense. Here, I thought this is interesting, Michael Shure. This is the share of voters who are considered up for grabs. Persuadable is what they call them. In February of this year, it was 28% of people who seemed to be persuadable, up for grabs. That has dropped. The first post-Biden poll has it, under 20%, and now it's at 16%. There are only 16% of the people who are still can't quite decide. Is it Harris or is it Trump? All of this said, I'm wondering if you can help us a little bit with what we can take away from this, or is this just, it's all margin of error mess and who really knows?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Basically, these states are so close that these candidates should be in these states and spending money in only these states. We should call them battleground states or swing states. That's what they are, right? They're swing states for a reason, because they're so damn close. Razor thin margin. That is what decided the 2020 election, really also decided the 2016 election. It's a race that is run in these certain states. And because of the Electoral College, that's how our elections are targeted now. And, I would say that North Carolina more in play now than it was. I think many people who follow politics are surprised how Georgia has come around as being a lot more blue than they thought. Arizona similarly, but there's no mystery here. These polls are going to seesaw until some of these votes in that 16% break. And I don't know that we'll see that reflected in the polls or not. I also don't know. I mean, to me, you said 16% seems low. It seems high to me. I don't know what a lot of these voters are waiting to hear from these candidates. Yeah, maybe specificity from Harris, but if you're still on the fence about specificity from Harris, that means that you're probably a Trump voter or have been a Trump voter in the past, and you're looking for a reason not to vote for him. And she's got to make that sale between now and Election Day, which is the job she's doing right now. So I'm skeptical about those people who say that they haven't made up their minds. I don't know very many of them, and 16% to me seems high. And I don't know that where those voters are, right? So if you're an undecided voter in California, sure, there's some people that I know somebody who's in Oregon who, because Oregon is so clearly going to go to Harris, and she doesn't like the way the Democrats have been, and she doesn't like the way the Republicans certainly have been. She'd never vote for Trump. She said, it gives me the freedom to vote for a third party. So some of these people who say they're undecided, maybe they're in states that don't matter as much. I think a lot of minds are made up where it does matter. I don't say that scientifically, but from being out there and seeing voters. And as far as to why these polls fluctuate a little bit, different polling organizations have different methodologies, and their methodologies, they're a kind of a hybrid of the way polling is done now and the way it had been done for so many decades in this country. And the changing methodologies are what give you sort of some polling organizations that get ratings of A or B or C, some that are partial to a certain party, that are hired by certain parties more, some are internal polls that are leaked. But I think when you look at Quinnipiac, which I think after 2020 and 2022 gets a B rating, which is pretty good. You look at them, they've been doing it for quite a while, but they haven't perfected what they once had because they were probably one of the top rated pollsters there for a very long time. Quinnipiac, a college in Hamden, Connecticut, that has always been doing this kind of polling, political polling, and they've kind of made a mark. Monmouth University similarly, and Marquette University in Wisconsin. So again, I would say there are swing states because of things like this, and these numbers should probably fluctuate. And I would imagine the last couple of weeks of the election, you'll see some of those 16%, we'll call it that because that's what the polls say, 16% starting to break one way or another.
Yeah, just to double back, the reason I said it was low, I said it's low, it was in relation to where it had been. It's been close to 30%.
Yeah, and I think where it had been, I mean, look, so let's say it was undecided at 28%, which is the numbers that Albert showed us in that graphic, and then it moved to 16%. Well, that means 12% of those undecideds probably took another look at the race when Vice President Harris joined and President Biden was no longer the candidate. And, because you can see there, that's the first Biden poll there. So you see the undecided, but now undecideds have gone up again if you look at that, right? I mean,
sure,
if you look at the graphic there. So they came down, they went down below 16%. Now they seem to have come back up, which means that maybe people are saying, we like Vice President Harris. Now the more we like her because she's not Joe Biden. And now the more we hear about her, we're still now up for grabs because maybe that's not exactly what we're buying.
Yeah. We had a bit of Obama on the stump, who was very good, I thought, in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Meantime, Trump was in Detroit, and, we played the weird, bizarre riffing that he does. He goes on for 2 hours, and he's just all over the road. I mean, it was really the kind of thing where you'd sit down with family members and you go, I think, Grandpa is beginning to kind of lose it a little bit. He's just meandering. Some of that is him going on prompter, off prompter, feeling like he can just ad-lib out of anything. But I thought, just to marry the two, that Obama made a great Trump reference. Of course, there were a bunch of Trump references, but one that I hadn't heard before, and now I can't get out of my head when I watch him go for hours and hours on the stump. He mentioned Fidel Castro, and he was kind of reaching for a comparison. And then I remembered, Fidel Castro used to do, remember those like 4.5-hour rants? He would go, he was so Trumpian. He would get up there and just go for 4.5 hours.
For sure. He was a narcissist like Trump is.
And the crowd wouldn't dare go anywhere, in Cuba.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mention this because I'm curious. Again, I know you can't know, but you can give us your thought. And you have been in the belly of the beast at these rallies. How much of a difference does having Obama out on the stump make in a place like Pennsylvania?
I mean, I think it's huge, and I think he should go to Detroit, and I think he should stay in Philadelphia a lot, and I think that he should be in the big cities making sure that Democrats get their reliable voters out. I think Democrats, if they're going to look, running against Donald Trump is one thing. To think that every single time Donald Trump says something that is inexcusable or shocking or how can this man be president, that doesn't matter anymore. We all know that. Every voter knows that. They know what the wild stuff about Donald Trump is. That's not going to move very many voters. It may move a couple still who say when it comes time to do it that they just can't vote for that guy. Those are not the people the Democrats need to target. You can be outraged, you can be shocked, but making that your campaign, which Vice President Harris is not doing, is probably smart. Getting surrogates like Barack Obama, who's probably the best surrogate the Democrats have, getting them in big cities where your reliable voters are and making sure they have a plan to vote and are coming out to vote. That's the most important part, where early voting starts and Barack Obama's there saying, you've got to go vote tomorrow. You've got to get your ballot and you have to make sure your registration is right. You have to make sure you have ID if it's required where you are. That sort of stuff is super important for Democrats because they need the people that they know will vote for them to make sure they vote. And the other stuff will take care of itself.
Something that happened this week, Michael Shure, was that the richest man in the world has become very much interested and very much a backer of Donald Trump in a more aggressive manner than he had been in the months prior. He has come out. In fact, he even started the quote interview that he did with Donald Trump. It was a sit down, that the two did. And, basically Musk said, let me tell you how great I think you are. And Trump said, let me tell you how great I think I am. And then Musk continued, let me tell you why I think you're the savior for this country, et cetera. But now he has dumped more money, more time, and more of his social media company into this Trump campaign. Give me a sense of your take on how important that might be and how that might dictate outcome.
Well, how it will dictate outcome is because you talk about the media, right? I mean, Donald Trump complains about the media, the fake news, the fake media. When you have one of your cronies running a social media platform that is used by millions of people, and we're talking about the Twitter, whatever they call it now, and so that when he does that, they are completely in control of how people get their information. And being in bed with Donald Trump in that way is super important to the Trump campaign because it's able to siphon information that they want siphoned, and it's free of charge. It's not paid media. There's no cost to them. Kamala Harris and her campaign have raised, it sounds like, over $1 billion. It's an incredible sum. The Republicans and Trump can't come close to those numbers. So what do? They get free media in this way. The other thing that Trump is doing is he's going to places, he's going to blue states. He's going to Colorado, right? He's going to New York, and he's going to be in Coachella in California this weekend. Why is he doing that? He's not going to win these states. He's doing that because it's free media. He's going to go to these big venues. He's going to say whatever it is he says, and they're going to get that video and they're going to put it out all over the place. And that's facilitated by people like Elon Musk. So too is the money, a lot of the money going to the PAC of Donald Trump. So it matters a lot. It also matters a lot because going forward, Elon Musk is clearly going to be a part of a Trump administration. In what fashion, I don't know. But, it affects the Senate vote, too. If the Senate is in Democrats' favor and Donald Trump wants to appoint him to a job where he has to be approved by the Senate, it will be much more difficult if the Senate is run by Democrats next time. If not, Elon Musk is going to have a lot of unfettered power in a Trump administration, one would assume.
Well, I remind everyone, I've made the point before, that Musk has tremendous interest in having power in the American government. He already has a lot of power because the American government needs him for the space shots. They're completely dependent on him for getting stuff into space at this point, getting people back from space. But he also has other data-related interests with the Pentagon and with the American government. So when we talk about Elon...
Right. Well, and they're billionaires and wealthy people obviously have power of varying degrees in American politics. The richest man in the world being involved is unprecedented. If you look at other richest men in the world types like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, they will tell you some things. They will drop in and say a few things, but they don't necessarily go in and try and influence a presidential race in the way that he has done. I mean, could Bill Gates have done that? Perhaps. I think when you own Microsoft, you have certainly a way of an outlet of doing things like that. Mark Zuckerberg, too, himself has said that he wants to recede from it because he thinks that he has too much influence. He doesn't want that influence. He's spoken and he regrets some of the things he said. Whether or not you believe him, it's certainly an easy way out for him to no longer be a part of it. Musk is full bore in there. And like you said, there are things that he, it works with the government on, and most of that has to do with space, but he is certainly replaceable, right? The United States government and our space program and our armed forces and our technology is going to go forward with or without Elon Musk. But when you have somebody who is so partisan in there, who has such strong opinions about the direction of the economy, who has such strong opinions on issues that are affecting the economy but have no bearing upon what he does for a living every day, then I think you're in uncharted territory, and that becomes dangerous.
That's interesting. He's, and apparently this speaks to you, according to reporting, in private conversations, Musk is reported to be obsessive, almost manic about the stakes of the election and the need for Mr. Trump to win. He praises Mr. Trump's courage under fire, endorses him on the night of the assassination attempt in Butler, talks about how funny he is. One person who spoke recently to Mr. Musk recalled him saying without any hint of irony, "I love Trump." And as you say, he'd have an oversized role in a Trump administration, especially from a president who doesn't really care about policy and running stuff. I think this underpins a lot of the support he finds in Silicon Valley bromances that he has with David Sachs and with Chamath from that world of Facebook. That's where Chamath made his money originally. But anyway, all these guys who are mega gillionaires, and I think they want, and they're still very much involved in technology, and they want, and they want, for example, the talk of breaking up their control, technological control, corporate control of technology. They want that over, right, Michael Shure? Yeah. They don't want. Is it Lena Khan? They don't want people like Lena Khan at the FTC to go after them. And this is what they would get from Donald Trump. He would clear the deck for them.
Yeah, for sure. And he'll also be retributive against people who have wronged him and the people around him. He's somebody who values loyalty. He will dismiss people who are disloyal immediately. He will talk down to them. I don't know what would happen if Elon Musk turned around and went against Trump, but Musk is setting things up so that Trump can't go against him at this point because of loyalty. And so I think it sets up it's a potentially dangerous precedent. I can't say it's absolutely dangerous because I don't know what the motivation is, but certainly I think when you have access to an administration and an administration who is indebted to you, should they ever come into play, should Trump win this election, you don't want a president who's indebted to any one person generally. Being indebted to the unions, that's different than being indebted to Elon Musk or a very wealthy American.
What should we watch for in our final minutes here with you? I'm not talking about what we should watch for in our final minutes with you. I mean, what should we watch for in the few weeks ahead?
I think that what watch where the vice president is going, where she's spending her time on the campaign trail, where the money is being spent, and I would spend less time watching what Donald Trump is saying generally, because it's not going to vary very, very much. I mean, it's really not. And I think we can say as a collective here, the things he said haven't really mattered. I think perhaps he lost that race because of his handling of COVID, because of his bombast, and because of the fact that there was somebody like Joe Biden running against him. Kamala Harris is a very different kind of candidate. She's the first woman. She's the first African-American woman at the same time. She's the first person who didn't go through a normal nomination process. And she has to be able to convince Democrats to come out. Early voting is, when those numbers start coming in and you see the percentages of early voting, it will give you a sense of enthusiasm. But again, there are also people who are skeptical of early voting, right, who will wait until November 5th, many of them. I mean, I like voting on Election Day. I'm usually on the road for it, so I voted by early ballot. I think it's fun to vote, but I'm a dork.
I agree with you. I always run into people I know. I love seeing in the old days, like the kind of the volunteers, the old grandma types. I loved it. It really was great. Go ahead, Kim.
And I would watch the former president. I would watch Barack Obama. I would watch to see what kind of surrogates are going out there and how they're galvanizing people. I think that's all important. And that's something the Democrats have more than the Republicans right now. There's no question that's what's happening. One other race I would look at closely is the Nebraska Senate race, where the incumbent Deb Fischer has been behind in a few polls to Osborne, the independent who's running there, not a Democrat, but an independent. And that could really impact the Senate, too. I know we've talked a lot about the presidential race, but there are some Senate races out there that are going to decide the direction of the country as well. And that's one.
The Sherrod Brown race, the Tester race, where are we on those?
I mean, I would say that if I had $100 to bet on each of those races, and it was my last $100 and I had to win, I would bet against Tester and I would bet on Brown. But it doesn't mean anything. Tester has surprised people in the past, and I think that can't be forgotten, that each time John Tester is not supposed to win that race. He's running against an impressive guy in Tim Sheehy. There are a lot of former Californians who live in Montana, but that doesn't change it to Democrats. A lot of Republicans move in. I love when people say that, oh, all these Californians have relocated to Montana. Yeah, well, it's a small sample of population, and on top of that, it's a small state. And further than that, they're not all Democrats. Just because you move from California doesn't mean you're a Democrat.
Go ahead, Kim.
Do you think all of these interviews that Kamala Harris is doing, the Howard Sterns, the Views, all of these things, will that make a difference? Will that finally let voters get to know who she is? Because we've heard people say, I just don't know her. I just don't know enough about her. Is that helping? And are we going to see that continue through the end of the election?
So, yeah, I think it will probably help. We won't know till it's all said and done, but I would imagine it helps. I think if you look at the typical Howard Stern voter, it's a male, right? And I think that if you have, Howard Stern, who is beloved by his audience, interviewing a woman who's running for president and being as openly passionate as he was about getting people to vote for her, I think that can't not make a difference. Anything that facilitates someone voting for someone who they may not otherwise vote for, I think is important. You go on The View, Kamala Harris is running to be elected by women, right? I mean, it's a lot of these suburban women who left the Republican Party over the issue of Roe v. Wade, who left in 2022 after January 6th. And I think that holding on to those voters, super important. And I think The View still reaches those voters. It also reaches a lot of African-American voters. She needs to get the African-American vote out. It's not a default just because you're a black woman running in the United States for office that every black person is going to vote for you, or that a percentage of the population, that every black man is going to vote for you. That's even something they're trying to push back on. I think, Kim, that it matters, that there's no question it matters. I don't know the big numbers. Again, 16% of people have to be persuaded, according to that poll, which I'm skeptical of. But if it, any handful of voters that it persuades is important.
When I hear I just don't know enough about Kamala Harris, I hear a Trump voter that just doesn't want to say they want to vote for Trump. I'm sorry. That's what I hear. Now, that might be my own paranoia also, but I think that they're oftentimes looking for a hook on which to hang a Trump vote.
I think you could be looking at a Trump voter who doesn't want to vote for Trump and is still open for, selection and doesn't know enough about Harris. I mean, Harris is not an open book. And if that to me is an exciting voter, right? That means that he can or she can be convinced to vote for Kamala Harris, but I got to learn more about her. She's got to come up with more specific policies. Or they're a single issue voter that pick an issue, right? Let's say it's the economy. I want to know what she's going to do about the economy. I want to know how she's going to,
Okay. But all I would say, Michael, is that when I just haven't heard enough about policy from Kamala Harris. Yeah, what have you heard about policy from her opponent? I mean, there's one policy. He wants to he's going to deport everybody. I get it. Okay, Tenzin, he wants to deport everybody. I get it. Apart from that, he's just spitting stuff out there. There's so these aren't policy-motivated
but you
decisions.
can't dismiss that there are voters who think that he has articulated a policy and who look at his record through rose-colored glasses. You can't dismiss that. That's a fact. People do, right? And if Jim Smith and Jane Smith show up at your door and they say, look, I really don't want to vote for Donald Trump. Sell me on this vice president. Sell me on your candidate. I want to hear more specifics because I already know what I know about Trump and I'm okay with it, but I'm not totally okay with it.
All right, maybe some wiggle room.
Every vote, there is room. But you're right and I'm right, and there are lots of different ways.
Well, I like it when we're both right. All right. Michael, congratulations on the Niners win, by the way.
All right, yeah. Niners, and condolences to Albert for a terrible Sharks loss last night. But journey of 1,000 steps, I guess.
Very exciting. New players. Scored a goal too. Macklin Celebrini, but
Yeah, it wasn't quite a goal. I mean, it went off someone's skate, but it was they count those. But being up 4-1 going into the third. Up 4-1 going into the third and losing 5-4, heartbreaking. But yeah,
wow,
heartbreaking. But compared to last year is very good, which is kind of sad.
It's true. Yeah, they were up going into the third, but you weren't able to say a lot last year.
Michael, we will talk to you next week. Thank you as always, and congratulations on being with us for 2 years. It's our 2-year anniversary. We're very excited.
Congratulations You've been to you guys.
A big part of it. Michael Shure, everybody. Thanks, Michael.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Wow. Love my Michael Shure. Always love hanging with him, his takes on things. And we continue with another Michael in a moment. Love hearing you with Tim Conway Jr. on KFI AM 640, says Tumbleweed, with a $10 Super Chat. Thank you for this, and they should give you your own show to balance that Cobalt guy. I know he's your buddy, but I'm really glad you guys are still here. Love you guys. Wow.
Big shout out.
Thank you for a 2-year recognition of all of the stuff going on. A lot of that comment will mean more to people who are in Southern California. There's a guy named John Cobalt. He's sort of a strong kind of right-winger, I would say. It's fair to say. We actually agree on stuff, particularly when it comes to law and order stuff. As you know, I'm kind of tough on law and order. And John, I really enjoy. I really do like him. But yeah, on the air, we're a bit different. But Tim is my dear friend and like a brother. And we also disagree on a bunch of stuff. But he's just so supportive, and as is everybody at KFI. So it's really fun that you would recognize that. The Uprights are delivering a Category 5 donation.
I stand corrected.
No, it's
big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you for a $10 donation on our 2nd anniversary here. The Uprights delivering a Category 5 donation. Appreciate that. Thank you, Uprights. Jim Slayton with a $20 Super Chat. Congratulations on 2 wonderful years of the MT show. I like just about everything about it. Thank you. I really love that. I love how, Jim, you have suggestively added just about everything. So we end up with this. I wonder what Jim doesn't like. It's nonetheless very generous of you, sir. Thank you. Jim, you've been supportive, by the way, since the very beginning, and thank you. Harry Magnet, it's a $5 for Friday, $1 for each year. Thank you, everybody. Harry, Jim, Vivian, the Uprights, Trevor Starr in Hollywood with 1010. Says, Mark, I noticed that my name hasn't been listed in the credits lately. Is that right? I blame Tony, he says. Well, I'll check with Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
He does an update once a month, so I'll check with him on that. Happy anniversary, friends. Will Shure, Rothman, etc. be replaced with Ingram, Hannity, and Lindell if Trump wins, LOL, says Luis. Yes, thank you for the super chat. And Luis, I'd consider always riding the horse in the direction it's going, as the Zen phrase goes. So as you know, I'm prepared if Trump wins and starts dragging people out into prison. I'm prepared to turn this whole thing into a big Trump fest. Rah, rah, Trump. I'll be like Elon and David Sachs and all those San Francisco people who were all reasonable. Now they've all become Trumpies. Croquet Film, we haven't heard from you in a while. Congratulations on your 2nd anniversary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Croquet Film and Jim Slayton and Harry and everybody enjoy. Happy anniversary, Joy says. Sends us a $9.99 super chat, I should say. I remember the day when KGO went silent. I was distraught. Then I did my internet due diligence and heard you, Kim, Pat, etc., figuring out your next steps. Congratulations. Yeah, very great that we all surfaced here, and thank you. Citizen Swain with a $20 super chat. My day would feel empty without all you guys. Thanks for your diligence and commitment to showing up every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Citizen Swain, and thank you all for your support. K Plant with a $5 super chat. I thought the anniversaries were to be celebrated on Monday, Mark. Anyway, thanks for the 2 years. You're a true showman. Happy anniversary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was the plan to celebrate on Monday, Kim. What happened? Why aren't we celebrating?
I blame you.
All right,
Started
well,
chit-chatting about an
fault
anniversary, and here we go. But, it takes the pressure
true.
off my party planning, so this is good.
Yeah, it is my fault because I did start, because you understand our actual anniversary is tomorrow. We're not on the air tomorrow. So I felt like, well, this is the day closest to tomorrow. So I just was mentioning it off the top. And before you know it, we're doing an anniversary kind of, what would you call it? Celebration, I suppose.
Yeah. It's like a pre-party. It's a pre-party.
B.A. Ware says this in a super chat. Come on, people.
Why are you yelling?
Come on, people. Hit the like button and subscribe, he says.
Why are you yelling?
Let this channel get to 47,000 subscribers for the anniversary.
Seriously,
that would be
great.
That
would be a gift. So take a segment that you'll find after the show and share it around. Get people to subscribe. Let's do it.
Yeah. I would love that. Thank you, BA. True. We're close to 47,000, I think, aren't we, Albert? Are we within 50, I think, or 40 something?
What's the number, Albert?
I think it's 47.
Let me get the accurate number, but we're really close.
Yeah, so we should be. So you guys can all make it happen.
I have one more for you.
Tess Downey. What up, Tess? With a super chat, she says, I hear Barry Manilow's Can't Smile Without You song coming on. Let me tell you, I will tell you on this anniversary, and then I will again get to Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster. By the way, the Dow, I'm told. Tess, thank you so much for that. Yeah. Can't smile without you. I've got a comment on that in a second. The Dow at a record high close again, 42,886. There is where we are.
We're so close.
46,977 subscribers. So, yeah. It would be great. We only need 23 subscribers to make it to 47,000. I joined Twitter very briefly so that I could find Mark and figure out what he would do, says Deirdre Lozica. The Twitter live show with all the hosts was the beginning of this great YouTube channel. Yeah. Thank you. That was a great conversation. We all kind of sat there and talked about what had happened and how KGO Radio, which is the birthplace of this show, it was a talk radio station, and it all went away. And so myself and many of the other very talented hosts, they got together with me, and we kind of talked about what was going to be our next step, and we all sort of tried to launch stuff right away. And people are still doing stuff. I mean, Nikki does a show, I think it's once a week live, and there might
Thursday
be other
nights.
offerings along the way. And, Kim does her own thing with the After Party Live, and Chip has his own thing. He's mobbed up with another crew, and he does, such big numbers and doing that. And Rothman does his podcast, et cetera. So it's great to have our own thing here. We're masters of our own destiny. And I like that, but then that makes us dependent on support from all of you, so thank you for that. What I was going to say about the Barry Manilow thing is, lately, and it's one reason I didn't show you an ad today from the Kamala people, because there's music behind it. We've had a lot of shows demonetized because of music. Okay, so like if I wanted to play Barry Manilow's Can't Smile Without You, just to go to that one reference, it would immediately demonetize the show, which means that we don't get any of the revenue associated with the YouTube ads, et cetera. And I know sometimes those ads can be obnoxious. Sometimes they're for Donald Trump. Maybe a lot of the time I think they're for Donald Trump right now. But because we're a political show, a news show,
annoying.
That's the stuff that you get. But anyway, point is, all of that money then goes to wherever the music came from. So for the music rights, they copyright hit us. So that's happened a lot, and that's why I really need these super stickers and super chats, because that balances out the money that we would have gotten had we not been demonetized. But it's also the reason I can't play a lot of the music or even some of the commercials I wanted to play. Like I let it rip with the Graham Norton show because I love that story that Charlie Sheen told. Immediately demonetized by Graham Norton's people. So, it just happens. So thank you. YouTube is a little bit of a strange world where we have to duck and bob and weave on this stuff. Lorraine Pingle for $50. Thank you. Big year. It's your second anniversary. I turned 70 and the Mets are in the playoffs, she says. Big Met fan. Love it, Lorraine. Congratulations on
the
Mets.
The Mets beat the Phillies, who were one of the contenders this year. So this might be finally the year for the Mets.
Yeah, the Phillies were viewed as the best team in baseball for a while. But maybe they're the best team sitting on the bench right now. The Mets have really come on. Exciting team. Love it, Lorraine. Congratulations on your 70th birthday, too. Big shout out.
Yeah.
Big shout out.
Yeah.
We
Turning 70.
We have to get to Michael Snyder.
Yeah. We do. Susan Roberts says, I love you guys and the whole team to make this show work so well, and congrats to your on your great success. Was so sad when the old station abruptly ended, but look what you guys did. Yay. Very, very cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, we do. We've got work to do with the Culture Blaster. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
He comes in once a week. We usually do a delay before we get to him, and all I can say
This is
is
a classic Mark Thompson time waster.
we adore him nonetheless when it comes to music, movies, streaming. He is without peer. He comes and goes on a rainbow. The great Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster. Hello, sir.
Wait. Is the Love Fest over yet? I'm just checking here. Lovely to be on board here, and happy second anniversary to all. For everyone planning to honor the occasion, I think the first anniversary gift is paper, so that should be ruled out. I think the second anniversary gift is either beef jerky or an old shoe, so send off those goodies to MTS headquarters, care of Hollywood, California. We're going to have a beef jerky festival. I think it's going to be great. And in the meantime, it's Victory Friday. I am still basking in the glow of the Niners' victory over the Seahawks last night. We won't waste much more time on that stuff because so much time has been burnt today, and I want to get to some movie reviews. What do you say?
Let's do it. I've been waiting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and this is relevant. Your politics consciousness is first and foremost here on the Mark Thompson Show. I get it. So how about we deal with The Apprentice? Now, I won't go so far as to say that The Apprentice is an October surprise. I mean, its effect on the coming election will probably be minimal, but it is a sharp drama based on, the courtship of young Donald. It's about Donald Trump as a young man who is taken under the wing of the evil, amoral, right-wing lawyer and fixer Roy Cohn, one of the architects of the McCarthy hearings, a guy who I guess sensed the kindred sleazebag in Trump, and he's the man who taught Donald every dirty trick at his disposal.
Did we get a? You didn't send us any art on that. You didn't send us one of those.
I absolutely did. So
movie posters Oscar for it? Oh, The Apprentice? No?
I did, but, failed
okay,
at your
no,
end, I think.
continue. I just had to ask. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe we can Google it. There
I
it
take
is,
care
The
of business,
Apprentice.
brother, as you can see.
There it is.
Or not see if you're listening to the audio version. Okay, so this is very, very good and very revealing. And even if it's been somewhat fictionalized, because we can't know what the private conversations were, particularly, it does a good job of following the relationship between these two beasts, Trump and Cohn, in New York City from the 70s into the 80s. And I was stunned. Sebastian Stan plays young Donald Trump. This is the guy probably best known as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier in the Marvel movies. He played Tommy Lee in Pam and Tommy, the miniseries about the relationship between Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson. And here he's the fledgling orange ogre, not quite so orange at this point. Stan is very versatile, and he's a fine actor, and he nails Trump without doing some sort of bogus impression. It's not like we're watching, I don't know, Alec Baldwin doing it on SNL. Right. And he is countered in really strong fashion, pardon the expression, by Jeremy Strong, so memorable and Weasley on Succession. And here he is terrific as Cohn, the vile Roy Cohn, who, by the way, was a gay man who somehow coexisted with conservatives despite flaunting his sexuality in certain safe spaces with his allies. Maria Bakalova, the Bulgarian actress best known for playing Borat's daughter in the Borat sequel, and mock-seducing Rudy Giuliani. See, another political connection here. She plays Ivana, who is a social climbing Eastern European, wooed by Don Boy, and who, as we all know, got more than she bargained for. By the way, sound familiar? Eastern European social climber? Donald Trump? Anyway, Martin Donovan plays Big Daddy Fred Trump, who is, to put it mildly, a piece of work and proof that the rotten apple generally falls from a diseased tree. If you take that garden metaphor in a different direction, Cohn was the poison fertilizer that nourished the Trump besmirches the world today. And that's the heart and soul of this movie. There's even, by the way, a depiction of a young Roger Stone, who apparently was one of Cohn's toadies back then and molded into a similar creature as Donald was molded. The Apprentice, the movie, not the TV series, was directed by Ali Abbasi and written by Gabriel Sherman. As episodic as it is fascinating and compelling to see what seems like a pretty accurate depiction of a twisted, corrupt, self-serving group of power junkies, two in particular. I heartily recommend it, even if we already know our enemy and can presume his sordid origins. We've seen him in the press since the 70s. We know who Donald Trump is, but this is getting a little behind the scenes. The Apprentice is in theaters.
Well, first, I believe you used the word besmirch, which is a ding word. But secondly, it seems as though it'll be riveting. I'm looking forward to it.
It was. And again, episodic. And speaking of episodic, the next movie
what does episodic mean for those of us who just buy a ticket and go into the theater?
Basically, vignettes through the years.
I see.
That relate to the story. It's not linear per se. It is chronologically in order, but we jump a little bit. And that's really what this next film does as well. It's called
hang on a second, Michael. We're having an argument here. It's not. I do not think it is. It's not. Episodic is not a ding word. Please proceed without the ding.
I have no call in that.
I understand. I'm sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
That's you and your bell, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway, directed by John Crowley and written by Nick Payne, We Live in Time is a time-shifting love story. Remember Love Story with Ryan O'Neal and Ali
McGraw.
Yeah, Ali McGraw. Okay,
love is never having to say you're sorry.
Well, I said I was sorry that I went to that movie, but that's just me. Anyway, Love Story minus the schmaltz is We Live in Time. This stars Florence Pugh, who people got to know from her work in Little Women, who was wonderful in the creepy Midsummer, was in Oppenheimer, Fighting with My Family. She's Yelena Belova in the Marvel movies, and she does superb work, as usual, in this film. And it also co-stars, speaking of Marvel, the third of the live action, or the second of the live action movie Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. And they're a couple who meet, fall in love, get married, have a kid, and this is not a spoiler alert since it's apparent early in the picture, have to deal with her cancer diagnosis.
Sure, exactly, I'm sure, yeah, okay. Just like a love story, yeah.
Yeah, so this jumps from incident to incident and year to year, but back and forth, not chronologically as The Apprentice does. And so it gets a little herky-jerky. And despite the excellent performances by Pugh and to a lesser extent Garfield, it didn't move me as I expected it might. I mean, I'm a guy that mists up when grandma gets her birthday phone call in an AT&T ad, oh God.
Right. Sure, you're
I'm
emotional.
so glad they phoned her. Oh my God. So, we live in time, which has a lot of foodie movie elements to it, because Pugh's character is a, acclaimed chef. Actually, Garfield's character is kind of an actor who's struggling. She's an acclaimed chef. She has, all the love and all the respect that entails. And it's a hard job to be in charge of a restaurant, a successful one or not, an unsuccessful one. And so she's wrapped up in that. And that becomes part and parcel of the movie and decisions she makes when confronted with her diagnosis. I give it maybe a half tier on the Snyder cryometer, but I do encourage romantics to see it. If you can take the scattered kind of snapshot effect of the movie, We Live in Time is in theaters.
Wow. Well, they're two very attractive young people, Michael. And the thought that she's dealing with even fake cancer almost moves me to tears just looking at the movie poster.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell you what, fake cancer, a lot easier to deal with than real cancer. But yes, you are correct, sir.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, again, you kind of, sadly, you think it just didn't hit the mark.
It's a good.
It's a good, what happened? Did we lose him? I lost my darling culture blaster. I don't hear him. I see him, though, which means that he's still connected.
Yes, he's still connected. I'm not sure if you can hear us, but Michael, if you want to just rejoin, we could just reconnect from there.
Yeah, maybe a rejoin, Michael, if you could, from wherever you are. I don't know where you are, but now he's reconnecting. This is always exciting. This is one of the things that is a little different than the old radio show that birthed this. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Michael, can you hear us, please, sir?
Technical difficulties, but we're back. I don't always get a chance to see every movie I want to see in any given week. And in the case of The Wild Robot, the screening for the movie, it's an animated film. It's got science fiction elements. It sounds like it's really in my wheelhouse. The screening was pitted against Megalopolis, which made way more sense for me to see at the time because it included a Q&A, albeit one done remote from New York with Francis Ford Coppola. So I finally got a chance to watch The Wild Robot, and I have to say it is a lovely animated movie about a robot, I think Rosum Unit 7134, ROS for short, who ends up being, I guess the intent is to send the robot to a family where it'll be a helper, but there's a ship that sinks and a box with the robot ends up on the shores of an uninhabited island, but actually there are animals on the island as well, and the robot wants to get back to where she, because it has kind of a female personality, is supposed to go, but ends up stuck on the island and kind of relating to all the animals on the island, and while at the same time thinking she needs to be elsewhere. I don't want to get too scientific on you, but there are considerable more than trace elements of The Iron Giant, which is, to my mind, one of the greatest animated movies of all time. Bambi, The Ugly Duckling, and Wall-E. She takes a runt duck under her wing and becomes kind of a surrogate mother. It's beautifully illustrated, beautifully shot. Director Christopher Sanders does wizardly work here. He also is the screenwriter, and the voice work is fantastic. Lupita Nyong'o is the voice of Roz. Pedro Pascal is a fox named Fink, who's kind of a trickster who ends up becoming a buddy of Roz and the little duckling. Catherine O'Hara adds her voice. Bill Nighy. Stephanie Sue is also a voice here. Mark Hamill, Matt Berry. They didn't mess around. And God, it's lovely. It's a wonderful movie for the entire family. The Wild Robot will obviously be in the conversation for Best Animated Film of the Year. I thought it was wonderful. And despite, me going in and saying, is this kind of a remake of The Iron Giant, it really is its own thing. I thought it was terrific.
It's in theaters, sir?
It is indeed.
All right. I love it.
Let's shall we wrap up? Because, there is this sensibility in Hollywood that we want to lean on intellectual property that we know is going to work, something familiar. They don't want to greenlight anything that might be risky, particularly in this day and age.
Okay.
It's an issue, right?
I agree.
So
that seems to be the trend. That's true. Yes.
What do we see here but movies like a remake of Salem's Lot, which was, by the way, intended to be put into theaters, and then our arch enemy David Zaslav, now head of Warner Discovery, deemed that, oh no, this isn't going into theaters. We're going to put this on Max. That has come down the pike. And I'll just say in passing, if you've seen the miniseries of Salem's Lot from back in the day, it's a much better representation of Stephen King's novel, which is basically a vampire story. His town up in New England is being overrun by a vampire who, takes no prisoners. This has a few jump scares in it, and it doesn't have, a lot of big names involved. But Lewis Pullman, as the central figure, Ben Mears, usually does good work, and he's good here. Alfred Woodard's in here, and a few other noted actors. It just, I feel like been there, done that. And that becomes even more of an issue in what I thought was a better movie, with Apartment 7A, which is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, wow.
So Apartment 7A stars Julia Garner, who is so good in the indie movie The Assistant. She was acclaimed for her work on the TV shows Ozark and The Americans, and she was the central character in Inventing Anna, which kind of was a wonderful miniseries on Netflix. And she's the central focus here to this prequel. But rather than playing a young married woman moving into a Gothic New York City apartment building with her husband, as was the situation in Rosemary's Baby, the prequel has Garner's character being a wannabe Broadway star in the 1960s, a dancer who screws up her ankle and tries to fight back onto the stage, and basically leans on a seemingly kindly couple who offer her free lodging in their spare apartment in a very familiar looking Gothic New York City apartment building. So I guess this is where the Rosemary's Baby story played out. And we actually see an elderly husband and wife, in this case played by Diane Wiest and Kevin McNally. They're Roman and Minnie Castevet, and those are the names of the two characters played in Rosemary's Baby, who essentially mentor Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes' character.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was Richard Benjamin, but yeah, go ahead.
So here you go, man. It's very similar beats to Rosemary's Baby. it looks good. The performances are good. Diane Wiest doing a bit of her Ruth Gordon. Ruth Gordon played Minnie in the original Rosemary's Baby. And there are some lovely sequences. There's one really crazy, dreamy sequence that I thought was incredibly creative, and I won't go into detail because I don't want to blow it for anybody. But the movie, which is in fact directed by Natalie Erica James, we've been here before, kind of. And as interesting as it is to see a different person as the target of a satanic cult, it's about Satan. We've been here before, and in that regard, I can only say horror movie fans, Rosemary's Baby fans, people who have never seen the original movie, might get something out of this. But again, this is not great cinema. It is available on Paramount Plus, so you don't have to go to a movie theater to see it.
Now, that's great. So you really like it, it sounds like. Is it a qualified like? It seems like the end you were kind of pulling up a little bit.
Totally a qualified like, because we've been here before. Right. It's just, well executed for what it is. And it's a little bit of a twist, pardon the ankle reference, on the original, because she's not a married woman. She's a single gal trying to make it, in the theater. And so it's not the same sort of thing. It just feels, though, that they've gone to the well again. And that has been kind of a problem, I think, with much of this reconstituting IP, reimagining.
That's why you started with the reconstitution of IP, because you feel like, it's sort of that's what this is. Yeah. Good stuff, Michael. I love it. Well, so I just want to get clear on something. The Salem's Lot is a pass. Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, I wanted to like it. It has some jump scares. It just didn't really knock me out at all.
So that's why you segued quickly to Apartment 7A. Okay, good stuff. Albert, what is our story? Are we out of time for brother Michael?
I think he has one more. I think we could fit in one more.
One more, please, Michael.
All right. Well, quickly, we'll talk about The Critic, which has been out and around for a little while. I did want to point out that it's available for streaming now. Well, it will be, I'm sorry, on October 29th. So it's a little ways away, but it had a brief theatrical run. And essentially, it's a period piece about a London theater critic who's, the nightmare theater critic who can make or break a show and has, glories in his power and abuses it if he feels like it. He's also a closeted gay man in the 30s in London. And, there are issues with that circumstance back then. We have enough problems these days with the LGBTQ hatred and negativity. But back then, you could be arrested and jailed if they found out what you were up to. So he's an older guy. He might be pushed out of the newspaper where he's been kind of a kingpin for so long. And he has it in for a young actress played by Gemma Arterton, who was so good she's been in a variety of things, starting with the remake of the St. Trinian's movies about a girls' school when she was, I guess in her early 20s playing a teenager. And she was also in Quantum of Solace. She played opposite Daniel Craig in a James Bond film. Here she is, a somewhat talented actress who is constantly belittled, berated, and brought down by the McKellen character's reviews. And they developed this kind of strange symbiotic relationship. And she, finds herself basically at his mercy, but also finds herself and her career starting to get a little bit on the upswing. It's not a great movie. It's sort of typical in some ways, but McKellen and Arterton are very, very good. And you also get supporting work from Mark Strong and Leslie Manville. What's interesting about this is Anand Tucker, who in fact was the director of this thing, has worked on some pretty cool films. Shop Girl, the Steve Martin movie, Girl with the Pearl Earring, which featured Scarlett Johansson, a really good crime drama period thing called Red Riding, 1983. and I just kind of wish this had been better. And in fact, to make matters even more strange, Patrick Marber, the screenwriter, wrote Closer and Notes on a Scandal, both of which are top drawer. So with all the talent involved, it's a little disappointing. But when it comes to streaming, I'd recommend it, if only for the great Ian McKellen's performance.
Wow. Well, there you have it. It's called The Critic, and it will be streaming at the end of this month. Is that what you said?
I did indeed. It'll be available for streaming October 29th. It's been in theaters, and actually it was not just in select theaters. It was pretty wide, but I don't think it made much of a splash in this blockbustery day and age.
Well, there you had a lot of very, very talented people associated with this project, and you can see it streaming at the end of this month. It says The Critic, it's called. Apartment 7A is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby. Michael liked it. Qualified like. Julie Garner is in the lead role, but there are other very talented people who are also filling out the production, among them Diane Wiest later in the film, I guess.
Well, she plays Minnie, the older woman, the same character played by Ruth Gordon in Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, it was a qualified thumbs up.
Qualified thumbs up for Apartment 7A. And again, that is streaming now. It's streaming on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Salem's Lot, he said, kind of pass. He said there are a couple of scares there, but not really worth recommending. And that's why he was quickly on to Apartment 7A. But Salem's Lot, if you want to see it, is on Max. The Wild Robot, he really likes this. And while he feels as though there are elements of well-known film and narrative that we are familiar with, it is so well done and so well executed. Michael, the Culture Blaster, really likes The Wild Robot, and it is in theaters now. So.
Yeah, it's its own thing, and you'll say, "Oh yeah, that reminds me." Well, you won't. You'll be caught up in the story.
Yeah,
Charming.
you'll be warmed by the feeling that you get by recognizing some of these things that resonate so well with you, probably as you see it. Oh, great Culture Blaster! Again, The Wild Robot is in theaters now. We Live in Time is the project that's evocative, Michael says, of a love story, which many of us grew up with, the Eric Siegel book made into a movie. This has Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. It's hard to believe that gorgeous Florence Pugh is quickly diagnosed with cancer. She has to fight that cancer while also falling madly in love with her Andrew Garfield. She also has to fight what Michael says is a herky-jerky script. You got the herky-jerky and the cancer in the same effort. It's quite a fight.
Yeah, it bounces back and forth from era to era, from year to year, from situation to situation in their relationship. But
I think I love Florence Pugh. Could be enough to get me to the theater. We Live in Time is in theaters now. The Apprentice, the Jeremy Strong, Sebastian Stan, Maria Bakalova project. It tells the story of Donald Trump and his connection with Roy Cohn. Michael really liked it. He said they're very good performances here. It's episodic, meaning it is a number of different episodes from the Trump life. Isn't that what episodic really meant in this case, Michael?
Yeah, there are significant moments in Trump's life over the course of, a number of years.
It did well at Cannes. There's a buzz on the street about The Apprentice. If you want to see it, you need to go to theaters to do it. Isn't that right?
Sure. The October surprise is it's really good. No, it could possibly impact one or two people, but ultimately it's just a fascinating look at corrupt individuals and how someone gets more and more poisoned and is given the tools to do what Trump has done over the course of his, let's just say, checkered career.
Well, very, very intriguing. I'm looking forward to it. The Apprentice, as I say, in theaters. Well, great Culture Blaster. We have covered it all. We are winding things down. We are grateful for your participation regularly on Fridays. You are a part of our history over the last 2 years. You were with us at KGO Radio, the station that birthed us, and now you are here with us. And I'm delighted to say thank you. And you are good friends with your pal Tim Sika. I know he's also a movie critic. Do you guys ever get together for coffee and just knock things around or text back and forth on various projects that you both see?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Good man, Tim. And he's San Jose based. So even though I am back in San Francisco for the bulk of October, I have yet to run into him in person, but we should really make the time and conspire against both you and Kim in some way.
All right, that's intriguing in itself. So, all right, Michael, we love you. We encourage people to check out your musings at thevoicesf.org. Thevoicesf.org. Michael is a very talented writer, and the Culture Blaster writes about all things. He does come and go on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Thank you so much, oh great Culture Blaster. Thank you so much.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We must wrap up, and I want to wrap up by saying thank you. We've got a couple of people to thank along the way. Susan Roberts says, tosses us a $10 super chat and says, sorry, meant to send this too. Love all your guests. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for being a supporter of our show for so long on our second-year anniversary. We appreciate it. This from Norway. Those are Norwegian kroners, they would be. 100 Norwegian kroners, which is about, it's about a little, I think it's about $10.
Okay.
Keep, and I love it. Are you kidding? From Norway? I love it. Keep the world safe, says Ashburn Knutsen, or I think it's Asbjorn Knutsen. That would be that's my best. Asbjorn Knutsen. That's my very best shot. Asbjorn Knutsen. Asbjorn Knutsen. Keep the world safe. We need America to protect the Constitution and reject the liar-in-chief from returning to office, Asbjorn says. The world needs a female commander. Best wishes from Norway. God bless America. Wow.
What a lovely thing to say. That's awesome.
Yeah, really. And I couldn't agree more. I'd like to see a woman in...
Hello to Norway.
Yeah, I spent some time in Norway, which is why I know about those kroners. Mm-hmm. I was in Trondheim, which is very beautiful. And you can look these places up, and I think you'll be very...
Google it.
You may want to plan a trip to Norway yourself. And I was in Hammersfest, which is, they say, in Hammersfest they say this, it's the northernmost city in the world.
Oh. Knutsen is a Viking name, isn't it?
Yes, well, I mean, the Vikings obviously are the big, that's
cool.
It's very cool. And when you go to Hammersfest, and you talk about World War II, they really hate the Nazis. I mean, I know everybody hated the Nazis, but that was a real, a tip of the spear in that part of the world. And you also get a little blowback from other Norwegians as to what the actual northernmost city is. But I think in Hammersfest, they make a big deal, and there's a plaque there. This is the most northern, this is the northernmost city in the world. Anyway, love that you watch and take us in from Norway, and lots of love to our pals in Norway. And thank you again for the financial support. Really, really cool. And sorry to butcher your name, as I probably did, but that's kind of what I do, you know. They pay me the big money for butchering names. The latest conspiracy theory. I'm glad we could get one more conspiracy theory in before the end of the show. Regarding the latest conspiracy theory coming from the GOP, no joke that the governor caused the bad hurricanes because they hit, the government caused the bad hurricanes because they hit the red states, because witches cause the bad weather and hurricanes. All right.
We're now at witches? Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're both equally plausible. Yeah. Government causing it or witches causing it, equally ridiculous. So
let me grab my broomstick and off I fly.
Super stickers, are super chats and super stickers a one-time donation, or they're just a one-time donation? They're not a monthly obligation, in answer to your question. Love that you're all here. Thank you for 2 years together, and now the voice of the show.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show.
Bye-bye. The after party live.
We'll do
is
it live.
next.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Bye. On Monday, we'll continue the celebration. Till then, bye-bye.